Alright, good morning everyone. Today we're going to remove a starter on 2014 Kia Optima. These are all the tools you'll need. First we're going to remove battery cables. You're going to need 10mm socket. You can use ratchet. I rather use impact. It's a lot faster. Then you're going to remove two bolts with a 10mm socket. And to remove it, you're gonna lift up, push towards you, and there you go. And just put it aside somewhere. And I usually put all the bolts and nuts that I remove back where they were. That way I don't have to worry about losing them. Next, you're gonna remove that cover, and all you have to do is just lift on it. Alright, now you're gonna remove that clip. Just push with the needle nose and slide it over, and you're gonna remove two bolts / screws. I'll be using 10mm socket, but you guys can use Phillips screwdriver if you want to. Now just pull that hose out of the way and get it out of throttle body. There you go, and then just put it aside. Now for the throttle body, you do not need to remove it. It will not be in your way. I am removing it just so I can clean it. But if you are gonna remove it, it's held down by 4 bolts, which is 10mm, and you do need a slim socket to fit on it. And of course unplug it and move it aside. And go ahead and remove one bolt that is holding your cooling line, and put the bolt back on there. And you're gonna push on the clips and remove all 3 connectors for your fan. And there will be 2 10mm bolts that you will have to remove. And these are at the bottom of the fan. There are 2 clips. You're gonna have to push on them and lift up on the fan. And there you go. Now you're gonna loosen all 5 nuts. You do not need to remove them, just loosen them. And of course remove 4 bolts on that bracket, and you go ahead, remove that bracket if you want to. And these are 2 bolts that are holding your starter. Go ahead, remove them with a 14mm socket. And go ahead, move everything out of the way and pull that starter out of there. Now that starter will have 1 nut that is holding your positive cable and 1 connector. On that connector, all you have to do is push on the clip and just pull. And then go ahead, put new one back on, put connector on, put your positive cable back on, make sure that nut is tight on there, and put the starter where it was, and of course tighten them with 2 bolts to hold it. There you you go. And make sure everything's tight on there. And now we're just gonna put everything back together. You're gonna put all your cold intake tubes back. Make sure those two bolts, screws are tight, and don't forget about your clip for that hose. Make sure everything's tight, nothing's moving. Now you're gonna tighten all 5 nuts and make sure that's not loose. And of course, don't forget about your bracket. Tighten all 4 bolts. And these are 2 bolts for the fan. Go ahead, tighten them and make sure the bottom of the fan is on those 2 clips. And we're gonna plug all 3 connectors. Make sure you hear a click noise. If not, go ahead, try unplug it and try hook it back on. And now we're gonna put 1 bolt that is holding your coolant line. Here are all of your 3 connectors for your fan. Make sure everything's tight. And we're gonna put cold air intake on that spring and tighten those 2 bolts. Make sure everything's tight, nothing's loose, and of course you're gonna push back on that cover and you're all done. If you have any questions, comment please.